I'll go ahead and call the commission meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, first order of business is the reading of the previous minutes. Chuck, can you hear us out there tonight? Good.
No objections, I'll make the motion to accept them.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved by Dave, seconded by Paul. Any other discussion?
Just a couple changes. It was $3,500. It was actually $2,500 from this for the HEDC donation.
Correct.
And also it was, and bingo is every other Sunday, not every Sunday. Just clarification on my report. Yes, yes,
And then every other Sunday?
yes.
Moved and seconded with those changes. Or any other changes or corrections? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item of business is the presentation of the bills. If there's no questions, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Paul, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Nicole. Any other discussion? Nicole?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
And a yes for me. Motion carries. Next item of business is the monthly disconnects. If there are no questions, entertain a motion to approve the disconnects for Tuesday, May 23rd.
I'll make the motion.
There's a move by Dave. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Paul. Any other discussion? Paul?
Yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
And a yes for me. Motion carries. City Commissioners reports. We'll start with Nicole tonight.
Okay. All right. So for water and sewer, I see they've started the citywide storm master plan. And so task 1 under general coordination is 25% complete. Task 2, which is data and site review, is 50% complete. I reached out to the airport, and just good news on all fronts. And they are going to have their annual fly-in this summer, but I do not have a date right now, but that will be released to me when they have that determined. And then under the visitors committee for the lodging tax, we met on May 2nd from last meeting, and we've agreed to contribute $2,000 for the dueling pianos for Hillsboro Days. And then also, we have also JR sent an email to HBA that we're currently taking requests for funds for the additional whatever leftover money is in there, which is around that $10,000. And so JR sent out an email to the HBA members, but the requests must be in written form and submitted to JR Strom at Onstead Twitchell. And there's 5 bullet points for what the request should contain, which is listing the principal people or organizations involved, outline the nature of the request in size and scope, specifically listing the dollar amount requested, specify how the funds will be promoting, encouraging, and attracting visitors to come to the city and use the travel and tourism facilities within the city, specify a timeline for the start and completion, and present evidence that additional required financing, if applicable, is available, which will allow the proposal to be completed. If there's any questions, let us know, but the next meeting will be at the end of May of 2023 to review all those requests. And then the Visitors Committee will then submit the recommendations to the City Commission for final approval. So, with that being said, I would like to make the motion to submit $2,000 to HBA for the funding of dueling pianos for Hillsboro Days.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Paul. Is there any further discussion? All in, Dave,
Yes.
Nicole,
Yes.
Paul?
I should probably abstain. I just thought of that.
Okay. So you're
Okay.
abstaining. And a yes for me. Motion carries.
Sorry about that.
Let me second.
Yeah, so you might have to have somebody else second it.
Yes, that is true. Dave, would you like to second the motion?
Sure, I'll second it.
Moved by Nicole, seconded by Dave. We'll re-vote. Nicole,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
and a yes for me, and Paul's abstaining. Motion carries.
And that is everything on those.
Thank you, Nicole.
Mhm.
Dave, do you have anything tonight?
I have nothing on streets, nothing on fire department. The only thing I have is that the city guys purchased, I don't know how many totes, but they called me and I do my portfolio. Well, I gave them the authorization to purchase them because they needed them. Standard maintenance, so
Thank you.
that's all I have.
Paul?
Okay, on the beautification, I'm sure we'll touch a lot on that. HEDC, they met, of course, last month. They won't meet again until next week is their next meeting. On the electrical side, the load controls, they are going in slowly. I would like to see, we do have a way of charging people, and maybe Jim can clarify this better than me. There is a way to charge people a penalty for not getting those load controls in. I think it's $50 a month. I would like us to do 2 things. I would like us to do some more advertising. I know we've done a lot, but I'd like us to do some more advertising, put in the banner maybe 2 or 3 weeks here, and keep pushing out as much as we can on social media. And I did talk to Sarah about if there was any way we could put a reminder in the bills, on the back of the bills, and they thought that there was a way of doing that. And if we did that for the next month or 2, but I would like at some point, I'd like us to set a date and agree upon a date. It just depends on how many months you'd like that to be or weeks before we implement that, because at some point we're going to have to put some bite into this to get people to call in and schedule those load controls being installed. I would say that if we could put 3 or 4 weeks of notices in the banner and at least 1 reminder on the back of a monthly bill, we can go 2 months, but then it pushes us out even further. So I guess I'm kind of looking for what other people's thoughts are on that, but I think the only way we're going to really get people to get moving on it is if we start putting a little bite in where it might, where they might take notice. So I just kind of hear any comments on that.
How long have we been, when did we start this project?
Last October.
Yeah. I think you're on the right track, Paul.
So I guess I can make the motion that we'd give them until our end of August. Is that too long? Or maybe July? That gives us we'll have May billings yet and we'll have June billings. So I would say that, come July 1st, they should either have it scheduled or done. I don't know what people think. July 1st, that is. So You think that's pushing it too fast or not fast enough?
Well, if we started in,
I'm asking you what you think,
we
so.
started in October.
Yep.
And
You know, because a lot of people, I think, are aware of it.
They're not, they're just barely, if half done.
Right.
And I know Allegiant and Red River don't want to stretch this out for another year. So I think we just need to start getting a little more aggressive on it.
And I think we need to put that date. I think we need to put a
We need
date.
to put a date and
Yeah.
then start implementing, because if you say that date, it's going to be a month before they even see that.
Mhm. Mhm.
maybe you have to give them $50, Paul.
Give them $50 to do it?
Not serious, but
Yeah, I bet you then they'd call it.
They call it in a hurry then, huh?
Does
So-
anyone ever call in wondering if they need it? Do you ever hear from anyone on the hotline that's like question whether they need it or have notified you that they're not getting back to them for the install?
Mhm.
In the beginning, we had people call and ask like how it works or who all needs it. Now it's more calls of they've called, they've scheduled, they either didn't show up or they canceled and they've left messages and nobody has gotten back to them. So they've tried to schedule something a couple times and they've never gotten back to them. Allegiant hasn't.
That's what I was wondering.
But there's a lot of them out there that
Haven't done either.
And,
The last time I talked to Legion too, those that were scheduled and maybe got canceled because of weather, storms or whatever it was over the winter, they do have a list of those and they are reaching out to those people
yes.
to try and get them caught up, so.
They told me they would be better at returning calls and rescheduling, and there was a period in there where things just weren't working very good between them and us, so.
Okay.
But we need a better response from the public. You're gonna end up with 5-10% that just, they're just not gonna, you're gonna have to go beating on their door, or it's just the way, we did that with the meters also.
So I have a question for Sarah and Ashley. Is it easier to put a $50 fee on, or is it easier to have a different rate?
What do you mean by rate?
If the user was changed to a different rate based on, and the second thing then with that, when I talked to JR a little bit, he said that right now it's a policy, which is policy, but it's not in it's not in the ordinance / the rate sheet that we refer to. So we need to make sure that we move all this over to the rate sheet so that it's enforceable.
I think they may not see it, a rate adjustment. They may just think it's a normal adjustment, where if they see an actual attached fee on there, I think you're gonna get better response with that. That's my feelings. I don't look at my rate, I don't look at what the electric, but if I saw a $50 charge on there, that would stick out.
That's definitely the way I look at it. I probably wouldn't catch it worked into my bill, but
wouldn't
unless it was highlighted or something, but if there was an additional $50 charge, I'd notice that right away. I don't know, maybe John can elaborate on what we have to do to whatever you were talking about with JR that we have to change.
Well, just like when we change our rates, there's a sheet that we have that's separate from the ordinance, and it's referred to in the ordinance that all rates are based off of this sheet.
It's like a Excel spreadsheet.
That should be posted for people to see what the actual rates are. It's not referring to a policy, so it's kind of hard to have it in the policy. This was maybe one of those things that we missed when we were moving from the old ordinances to the new ones. And it's not a hard thing to do, we just have to move and pass it here onto that sheet.
Mhm.
And it's not like there's a ton of policies that it's only 2 sheets of policies.
Well, I'd like to see us do something with the charge on. I think that'll get more bite, whatever that's required. You know, you have to, somebody that knows more about it than me will have to say what the steps are for that. Unless they don't want to do it. That's just my recommendation, so.
I think we should do something. It's just a matter of how we move it in over. And whether or not $50 is enough to cover it. Because if you look at what we're half of our electrical charge when it is on demand charge is that.
Well, I guess I'm looking at more just, it's just kind of a happy medium to do. We just want to get people to come in and do it.
I know.
You know, I don't want to, you know, I just want people to pay attention and say, hey, I should get this done. I don't want to pay $50 a month or $100 a month or whatever it is, and whatever that magic number is. You know, maybe you start out at 50, and if they're not coming in at some point, you know. And
Would you
maybe
wanna-
just talking about it might be enough, but. you
So
know.
Paul, do you want to make a motion to set a deadline of when we're enforcing this?
Well, how long would it take to change what we have to change? Just a meeting?
One meeting.
One meeting, okay. Yeah, unless Jim feels differently, I don't know why you wouldn't want to do it as soon as we could. July, I would say by July 10th, maybe. You know, that gives them, they got their bills and they should have paid them by the 10th, so if they didn't see the first one from May, they should see the one from June. So,
Okay. July 10th, and then do you want also to get JR to work on getting it put into the...
right.
Okay.
So,
It's been moved to set a deadline for July 10th for the rate controllers for the $50 enforcement, correct?
yes.
And to have JR look at transferring that over, the policies over to the rate sheet. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Dave. Is there any further discussion?
I want to clarify on that too, that they don't have to have it done by the 10th of July. They have to have it at least scheduled by the 10th of July.
Okay.
Because if we start getting a bunch in, he's not going to be able to get them all done in a time. But if they have scheduled, then that's all we need to see is that when I call Allegiant or Jim calls them, they say, yeah, Joe or Bill, they're on the schedule. So,
Any other discussion? See none, proceed to vote. Dave?
Yes.
Paul? Yes. Nicole?
Yes.
And a yes for me. Motion carries.
and that's all I have.
On the Hillsboro Rec District, we have Melissa Beach has taken over as the president or the chairman of that group. I'll still be on there as a city representative, but she has taken over more of a lead role on that. And that, from 3 or 4 years ago when we started talking about it, they're in a much better financial situation and a much better at overall looking at things. They're even looking at hosting a Little League tournament here in town this year. So, along with, I think the Babe Ruth tournament is here again this year. I'm not sure about Legion yet. John and I have been working on the Kingman sewer stuff, and I had him send out, it's just basically a letter to all of those that still owe on the Kingman sewer, letting them know the change in their amounts that would be due based on that buy-in from the connection fee to the Riverwalk development into the Kingman sewer. And so that should be hopefully coming in, and I think that one is due again 2027? 28. I'll talk more about on the beautification side here when we get down there. We did apply for 2 grants on the beautification side to look at for some of the projects over at Railroad Park to help spur that. Being that now there's been some interest, the first thing we have to do that we talked about was getting that fence done. So there was a couple grants that they applied for, or decided to apply for. I told Ashley today the financials are looking better. That check recon is getting way down from what it used to be. So we're down to $686. She said it was even less than that. So that is a good thing that we're getting closer on the budget and those items. A couple weeks ago, or probably longer than that, a month or so ago, I got approached by one of the insurance salesmen, companies in town, and asking about having the city switch insurance companies. And I had told them at that time that it's not my decision, it's up to commission, but if I was going to open it up, that I would ask all insurance companies in town to come and talk before the commission about it. And so I did reach out to the other one. Nodak Mutual is not interested in it. He did let me know that last week. Farmers Union is interested, and then also Heritage. And so with that, I think it'll be the first or second meeting in June, I can't remember which one I scheduled for, that they would come and just give you their ideas and proposal. And technically it is not a change in insurance, because it would still be through the NDERF. It would not be a change in dollar amounts, because it's a pass through. We pay X amount and NDERF pays what is owed to the insurance company. So it's more about what services they could provide to us. So unless there's any disagreement to that, you'll see that in the next month or the next meeting or two.
And just to note that was brought up to anybody that's watching, because of course Lee is retiring. So we thought if there was any time to change it, now would be the time, because he sold his company. So be an opportunity to see if anybody else is interested, and that's the reason why we're going down this road.
Yep, and one of the companies reached out to me and asking about it, and so I wanted to make sure that it was fair for everybody. And so if you have any other thoughts on if we should open up further or how we should do it, please let me know. So next we'll go on to Jim.
I have nothing new tonight.
Okay. As I say JR, but John tonight.
Nothing.
Thank you. Ashley?
Just a reminder, Hillsboro Days is coming up, so any food truck vendors that are wanting to serve at Hillsboro Days or any other time of the year needs to get a permit and all documentations submitted to City Hall before being able to operate. Food truck applications can be found on the City of Hillsboro website or be picked up at City Hall. And then also, I need a motion to have a wage set for Sarah because she'll be taking over for Julie starting June 1st. We had posted the job at starting at, I think it was, Sarah, what was it that we posted it at? We posted it at 19. My recommendation, and this is up for a vote, obviously, my recommendation would be to do put her at $19.25 an hour. That would be a $2 increase from her current wage. And then I know, Levi, we had talked about this before, the possibility of doing an incentive if she were to go through the auditor certification program through NDLC, to up her pay by $1.56 per hour, which would roughly be about $3,000 more a year. that's the same incentive that I got for going through that when I first started. So that is what I would recommend. It's up to you guys what you decide. But I need something tonight because Julie's done at the end of the month. And we're having Julie's party here at the community center on May 24th from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. for a retirement party for Julie.
Is there anybody that would like to make a motion or discussion on the topic?
I'll make the motion.
At the 19.25, and then the $1.53, $1.56 for the leadership training. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved by Dave, seconded by Nicole. Is there any other discussion? Paul?
Yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
And a yes for me. Motion carries.
That's all I got. Thank you.
I believe we don't have anything on the sheriff's department or from city engineer, because Nicole gave how they've been moving forward on that. On the beautification side, on those tickets, was at the direction of the beautification to send out letters again to the ones that we had from before. Is that correct, Paul?
Yes.
The ones that we had. So I haven't had a chance to get that done, but I will get that done later this week or next week. But that would be for them to show up at the Beautification Commission meeting. Referring to ticket number 2021-004, I was at court last Wednesday and was witnessed by Mr. Stock on behalf of the city, and happy to say that she was charged and found guilty in 2 counts, both of the on our city ordinances. I can't remember the exact numbers on them. And the judge issued the maximum penalty of $1,000 for each count. So she was charged with $2,000 fine, and it's $1,000 per day. And so in order for us to do that, we'd have to charge every day. And it's about, when the judge was looking at it and talked about it, it's about the day in question, not after the fact, not before the fact. Day in question, that was it or not in violation or not. So I can't remember the exact day, but it was in December, I believe, of 2022 is when she was charged, or early January. So on that day in question, was it in violation? And the judge also said the evidence was overwhelming, that the things that we did on the beautification side, bringing up to it to that point, what we did on the city side, making sure that we had the pictures, making sure that we had the notices, everything. The judge had no question that Ms. Oyster had plenty of time and plenty of notifications to try to get the property cleaned up. There is 2 things that we have to work on. One is with Steve, and after that I met with Steve and Charlie, and if you guys agree, our thoughts on this, because we still have to keep going on it until it is completed, is 2 steps. One would be every meeting we would decide whether or not the property is still in violation as of the day, so as of today, and then tomorrow it would be turned over to the sheriff's department to go in and charge Miss Oyster if that is the case. And we do that every 2 weeks, or not every 2 weeks, but every meeting that we'd have, that it's a decision made by the group of us to that it is in violation, and then it would refer to the sheriff's department for them to charge out, and then to refer on to Charlie to prosecute on behalf of the city. The other side of that is it's a civil matter for us to go in like we had previously wanted to do. And I met with Steve and Charlie, and they both agreed that if we had a court order saying that, yes, we are free and able to go on that property and remove the junk rubbish, that they would allow it, because that was the hard point from the trying to protect the citizens with their rights, but also for us as a city. And so JR and I will work on trying to figure out what those steps will be to make sure that we can get the court order. Because on the district court is not one that would be one to order it. They're only looking at was she guilty that day as charged. On the other point of that, on being that it is in district court, for her to appeal the decision, she would have to take it to the North Dakota Supreme Court. And she has 30 days from last Wednesday in order to do that. And I know that we've been working on this policy and working on procedures with the beautification, and I think this shows that we did go in the right direction and it's working. It's a very slow process, but it does work. I never hoped that we'd ever get to this point that we'd have to go to court with any of them. But, you know, any thoughts, questions, concerns on that? And if not, then I'd entertain a motion to, again, refer 103 4th Street Northeast.
I haven't looked at it since this, in the last few days, so I don't know what it even looks like. So.
It's not any better.
Not any better, so. You know, but.
The trailers did get moved out of the alleyway, but
Mhm.
they now are parked on the street, and the driveway is still full of stuff.
Yeah. I know the last time I was by it last week, I know that it was still not good, so.
And I was going to take pictures, and I forgot, so I apologize for that.
So how long does it go on before?
As soon as we can get that court order to go in. I'm hoping that if she's charged with 2 counts every 2 weeks, that's $4,000 a month. And this doesn't go to us, this goes to the district court. This isn't money coming back to the city of Hillsboro, it is district court fees. Because if you guys remember that agreement, it said all funds went to the district court, not to the city.
And this is my opinion. I'd like to give her at least a couple weeks here. You know, what'll happen, we don't know, but at least we're giving her the opportunity after the court case to do this and then look at it again. That would give us all the opportunity to drive by there, you know, before the next meeting and make our decision.
I would agree.
So that'd be the June 4th, 5th meeting, okay? Everybody agree
So
to
you
that?
Put that on the agenda then for.
Yep. All right, then the next item in old business is the policy handbook.
Did you make a motion on that?
Do we need a motion on it? or
I don't
just
think so. We're
putting
just,
it in
no
the,
motion.
we'll just,
if we're doing next month, we might need one.
yes, sir.
I just want to address the commission as a employee of the city concerning the handbook. Back in March, Levi had told everyone on the commission that he was going to work on the policy handbook to change or input the hiring process into the handbook. And we put hiring an administrative assistant on hold until, well, we're still waiting to hire someone. Last week we got the draft handbook. Levi had emailed all of us, and I went through it, and there is nothing in there for the hiring process. So I am concerned that this was placed in his hands and it didn't get done, and we put on hold hiring an administrative assistant, with which then I didn't get a chance to really sit and train with Julie. I had to learn her job while doing my job at the same time. So those are my concerns, and I'll just sit and let you address it.
Thank you, Sarah. I think I missed putting it in there. I did have it done.
We've agreed to put that out for applications, right,
Mhm,
already?
yeah.
Okay, good.
We haven't had anybody new, but one of the people asked to pull their application forward. The other one had already found a job, because I reached out to both, and we have not received any other applications for that position other than the one being pulled forward.
What's the deadline date on that?
The
Do you remember?
20, what did I put? The 22nd by 4:30.
Thank you.
Yep.
So I'll send that to you right now. I thought I had said it in there, but I missed it.
It's done, ready to go in?
Yeah.
Trying to think of the section here.
If you want to pull it up, Ashley. The only difference is all full-time or part-time employees will have at least, that was just adding what we had already had on there.
So that looks like resignation and termination, not hire.
Or a new position. So the very end would be your starting. It's accepted by the manager and city commission, and then it moves on the top. If it wasn't, then it would move on the bottom. If it's in public works, then it would be him. If it's in the auditor's office, then it would be Ashley. And again, this is just a draft of what we can do. Things can always be changed. I didn't put it on here, but yeah.
Yes.
Well, I guess I hadn't added that in because I didn't think we had questions on that, because I thought it was always been 2 and then a commissioner. Or at least that's what we have done in the past. But we can add that in there.
It actually could be even added that the manager could request certain people, or even the commissioner, if he or she didn't feel comfortable with the commissioner, could request the second commissioner be available for the interviews too. That way you're kind of covering, that way the manager, if he or she feels somebody else should be there, that would help with good input. In the same way, if I was doing interviewing, if I felt, well, this is an area of expertise of Dave or Nicole or Levi, we might ask one of them to sit in on too. Or you might actually have one that would like to sit in on it. And I think that if somebody feels the need that they should, I think they should have every right to sit in on the interviews.
So the hiring manager and commissioner are required and commissioner are required for interviews. An additional employee and or commissioner may be requested to sit in. Any other thoughts on the handbook? I'm guessing that most of you would like a little bit more time to digest and make comments on it.
I'm not sure which on the packet, it's page 36. As one thing, it's use of equipment and vehicles. It's just a kind of a, just wondering if maybe it should be written a little clearer, because it's just says only city employees of the city or commissioners. And just, if it should just be employees of the city. Another thing on the next line, it says other may ride in the city owned, just more or less clarifying the verbiage on that one. It's on page 36 of our packet. I'm not sure which page it is of the book. Looks like page 29 of the handbook. Under use of equipment and vehicles. It's just kind of a wording thing is all. It just.
And that was just for clarification under the insurance policy, because we all had questions on it.
Yeah, no,
So
just a matter of just changing a couple of words is all that I.
And in talking with Luke, what he had said was anybody that's either a volunteer or an employee, and the commissioners are considered employees, can use the vehicles as long as they're doing it for city business.
And then if you want to go to page, if we're done with that one, if you want to go to page 24 of the handbook. I'm not sure if that was you, Levi, that put that in there, or who it was. I just have a couple. Just kind of was wondering what you wanted to do with that, or what was the meaning behind it. Because talking to Jim, as far as the process of how they do time cards and things like that, he more or less does sign off on everything, because he reviews all the timesheets and everything and marks off whether there's vacation or so on and so forth. So I don't know for sure if there's something I'm missing there. And then as far as days off, must be approved in writing. I guess I look at it, I could see, of course, I don't know about the writing part, but I could see why we'd want Jim and Ashley to make sure we're aware when they're gone. But as far as the rest of the employees, obviously Jim and Ashley are going to be aware when they're going to be gone, and they can address, if they need to find somebody to take their place or whatever it might be, or adjust their schedule, so to speak. But I do think it's important that, in this day and age with schedules, let's use our spring sports schedule as an example. You might have a game that hasn't been scheduled during your work time, and all of a sudden a game gets rescheduled to where you need an afternoon off or something, and that's really, to me, that should be left up to Jim, and they should be able to determine, well, yeah, that's not an issue, we don't have a lot going on today, and then they can give them off with that notice. I think that's a huge benefit for employees nowadays. One of the benefits that we can give them, that really, if they have the vacation coming anyway, it's a lot easier in my line of business anyway. It's a lot easier to give somebody a day off than to wait for them to take 3 or 4 or 5 days off. So, and all of our employees, not all of them, but majority of them, they do have a lot of vacation that we'd like to get them used up anyway, because it's just piling up. So if there's an opportunity to where something has changed, a family event, whatever it is, I think it's nice to be able to have the auditor and Jim grant them that time off without anything in writing.
I think you're reading too much into it, Paul.
Okay. I might be, that's why I was asking for clarification.
You're reading way too far into it. Basically, it's just saying, and maybe it just didn't come across clear, but it's, if you're asking, somebody's asking for a day off, to make sure that it's approved by one step above. So in the case of an employee, if it was Sarah, she'd go to Ashley. If it's Ashley, then she'd have to notify a commissioner or the personnel commissioner. Right, it's
It's
just saying notification, it's not saying.
Yeah. So I think the days off must be approved in writing. Maybe reiterate that to communication for days off. Communicated to immediate supervisor for time off.
That
But
would,
not
that
one
would
that's
qualify for me.
just communicated.
Okay,
So we'll simplify that one. And then I have page 6. Yep.
Is there a reason you have them in yellow and green? Just the way it came? Okay. I don't know if there were specific reasons why you had them in green versus yellow.
So the all new employees or change in a position. For me, I see the new employees for the probationary basis for new. I feel like if the change in position has to have a second probation period, that's really going to deter people from wanting to change positions or move higher up in a company to be set through another probationary period. That's just from my take. I think it should just be crossed off altogether and just have all new employees work on a probationary period. That's my,
the only question on that is that in current policy, we have that you have that probationary period and then everybody gets a raise of 75 cents or after the probational period. So is that going to be in effect or not in effect? Then we have to clarify it down below farther what we're going to do.
how has it worked in the past? So when people move positions, they just move over and
I
have
don't
an
know.
increase in pay, or I don't know what happens there.
I don't know of anybody off the top of my head. But I haven't been here long as Dave, or he's the old man now, so he has to clarify these questions, so.
Well, I just thought it was kind of interesting that, just say a guy's worked there for, like John Hams, let's just not using your, but he's worked there for, I know he's been there almost 40 years. What if he wanted to step up and then we already know his job performance, so now we're going to put him on probation for 180 days for a man that's been there for 40 years? I don't really.
But then are we giving him an automatic raise? That's my question, and it's not meant one way or the other. I don't care, but we can't have it two ways in a policy. We got to have it one way or the other, because it's going to be confusing.
It could just be the new employee gets that after the probationary period, but not the existing. The existing, I would think, would just get
The
bump in
base of
pay,
the,
like
yeah.
Sarah got.
And I'm fine. I'm just saying,
Right. No, I understand.
Yeah.
That's how I would perceive it. I don't think Sarah expects to get another, I'm sure she would love it, but I don't think she expects to get that.
yeah.
Because her raise comes with the transition.
but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That if somebody looked at this policy and it said that, then this was more to spark interested discussion than anything.
Page is not on Levi,
Page
That-
6.
No, the other section.
34, I think.
About the, after 180 days. Is that on the same page? I guess I must have went over it.
I thought I saw something that was after the next one, but I don't see it.
Thought maybe it was in a different area.
It's in a different area.
Wage thing, right?
I think so.
34,
That'd be your 20.
34, you said?
I think.
You're 34? Page 34?
I believe so, Nicole.
Because it just says in each one of those, it says after the probationary period, the new auditor or public works director
34.
entitled to 2%, and then under
There we go. Oh, no. No, keep going. Sorry. I was watching the tab of the 73 instead of the screen.
That just says auditor and public works
Well, maybe it
director,
was just
though.
in that one, but yeah, that's where
Mhm.
it's listed
Going
in
down?
there. So
And keep going.
do we take that out entirely so they're both out?
And this one. I think that's where,
Well, that's where it says public work employees and auditors, salary staff range is 17. After the probationary period, employees are entitled to 2% increase to their annual salary. But it's a,
does that 2%? No, never mind.
it used to be 75 cents and I changed it to a percentage.
Americans are exempt employees.
Which it works out to about 2% of that 75. You see what I mean? That's where I came up with the conundrum.
I think where you're coming from is the new hire would have that initial, and if they are in that position for 12 years or whatever, and then they move up, that probation, after that probation, it gives them another 2%.
Correct.
That's where you're wording that.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So it's almost like you're saying that if they go through the probationary period, they can get that. If they don't go through a probationary period, they wouldn't.
Right.
Right.
Because, let's say John did move up when Jim retired and he got that, then, not saying he would, but what if he said we gave him the raise of salary and then came back in later and said, well, I looked through the policy book and it says that I get 2% here after my 180 days.
You probably want to clarify that too, because right in here right now, the way I read it, it looks like it's just auditor and public works director are listed here.
That's for the
Right.
top one, but it
Oh,
also,
the next one?
below,
Okay.
further down below, it also has public work employees and auditor staff salary range. And then it says after the probationary period.
Oh, I didn't go down far enough.
Well,
And maybe you guys want to think about it more instead of,
yeah,
you see where I came up with the conundrum of what I wasn't sure, so that's why I change it and you guys can make the decision.
do we need the salary ranges from one to the next? Or is it starting pay, starting salary? I feel like it's, when you give a staff salary range, you're automatically in between that, but no farther than that.
Well, the reason I had put it in there, I'd asked for a long time ago, is that when I first started, we had, when people came on, they said, well, what are our guys at right now? And then we put the new guys right there. So that didn't help our guys that were on for a while, and then we had this compression of salary. The point of it is if we move the bottom up to move, if we move that bottom starting up, then we move everybody up. So that we're keeping our employees' wages fair.
Because if with a current employee that just moves up, couldn't we just basically say what their salary is going to be, and they've already say, hey, you're going to get $2 more an hour moving from this position to this position, and that's what you're getting. Nothing's going to change after 180 days. So you already get it immediately. So that's kind of the benefit of being.
That's what I thought.
If we can word it that way. So it really mainly would only pertain to new hires, but not existing employees.
So just put in their new hires.
New hire, that would appear,
Okay.
only pertains to new hires. We could probably put existing employees would have a set wage determined at hiring. Does that make sense, Nicole, or not?
Yeah, I think so.
Think so, work?
So then we wouldn't have to have that others.
Mhm.
Right. And my assumption on page 35, all the green, is that it looks like those positions with certifications, but if they add on certain certifications, they also get that added dollar per hour to their wage.
Correct. That was, we already had some that we had put in there, but, you know, trying to get some more of those put in.
Did you come up with these numbers from someplace in particular, or just kind of
Just
picked them?
tried to, some of them just tried to make the rate
Mm-hmm.
to current standards, and some of what we've talked about before.
It would kind of adjust to what lineman certificate, what a lineman's salary would be, or a journeyman electrician, master.
That could be the one that you would like to go to in. Mhm.
That might be a little steep to me. That's pretty generous.
What would you?
I don't know. I'd probably say a couple bucks, but, I don't know. $5, that's a pretty big jump for, without specifying exactly what type of leadership training
But that's why
they're
it
going
says
through.
the commission approved leadership
Mhm.
training before
Right.
it would be.
So. I suppose if you leave it that way, then they have to get it approved anyway before that, but. What's PRN?
Part-time. Or per hourly, as needed.
I don't know what it stands for, I just know it's as needed.
The PRN is needed.
Well, usually an acronym means something, it's like.
I just don't remember what it stands for, but I know what it means.
Have we hit them all?
Yeah, is there anything on that list that you can see that isn't on there for certifications for either of you? Anything with water treatment or any of that stuff?
I don't see anything. I think they're all good incentives, but I have a question. So what would you do for a present employee who has a Class 3 water treatment certification, that has a Class 2 water distribution, has all those classes, okay? Or present employee that has been doing electrician work and lineman work, not certified, but been doing that work for the last 20, 25 years? That I actually also supervises 5 other employees? That's my question. I mean, that's good, but if you were to get a master electrician and give him that type of raise, that's what I make. Don't get me wrong, I'm not for this, but I think things need to be looked at. there was no compensation for any of that through my career. And when I asked for a pay adjustment last fall with Commissioner Guerra and Commissioner Reese, I didn't receive one, but what I did receive was a letter of reprimand and a below grade evaluation. Not to change the subject, but it's time it was said.
Is there, for these water treatment, class 1s and 2s, you have other staff that have received these too, correct?
We have, John has a class 1 water treatment, Zach has a class 1 water treatment. I think they both have water distribution. And I don't remember if John has a wastewater. That's the only other classification.
Would you guys like to spend more time on this, to look over it till the next meeting?
I would.
Okay.
That's okay.
Just because we do have that one position open, and it closes on the 22nd, I'd like to be able to start interviews, provided we get more applicants. But we do still have at least one, so can we at least go forward with the interview process?
I would think we should be able to.
Okay.
So we'll table it till the next meeting.
That's fine with me.
And I'll make the changes that you guys have said and get that out. New business, we have the tax equalization letter of intent for approval.
Can you guys motion to have Levi take a look at the handbook? Were you aware that he was going to change in these other areas? Should there be another motion indicating that these other areas are going to change?
I don't think we're changing anything yet, are we?
No.
We haven't voted on it.
Figured he's gonna discuss it here, and he's gonna go make some more additional changes, right?
There may be, yeah. That's
I
all.
remember back in that March meeting, the motion was made to change the handbook for the hiring process,
Mm-hmm.
not any of these other areas.
But we met,
There was also
we,
discussion and requests from others to make other changes and evaluate the handbook every year.
yeah, we can evaluate it. Actually, in the handbook, I think it does say that it can be evaluated any time. But it has to be evaluated at least once in December, I think. So,
So the next item is the tax equalization letter of intent. And for next year, they're looking at $14,960 for Trail County to do our assessments. I have a motion to approve, if you would.
I'll make the motion.
Dave moves, is there a second?
is this assessment thing new to us, or has this been an annual thing, or
The last 1 year for sure.
just
Two?
the start of 2022?
was the second year.
Okay.
And so now going forward, so the commission had decided 2 years ago, when the assessor that we had basically just dropped us with very little, didn't give us much notice. The county, we did look for somebody. We put it out for ads and nobody applied. And so the county they wanted to start doing it for all of, I know their goal is to do it for all of Trail County, and Kayla bought new software and stuff. And so now going forward, the commission had asked for a full assessment of the city, and that's why Michelle has been going door to door and sending out these little notes and things. And so every year they send us a letter of intent, and it should, my understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, it should start going down now that the full assessment is done. But I think they're still trickling a little bit from the last couple of years of people not getting back to her for the full assessment. But that's my understanding, wasn't it? That it should go down after the full assessment. Levi?
Correct. I don't know
Give
how
or
far
take.
though.
Right.
So this would be our second time paying for another year,
Third.
and has the amount gone down at all since the other two?
The first one I think was like 20. I'll have to double check, but I think it was around that $27,000 mark for the first year. But I will have to double check. But I know it was quite high.
Okay.
Thought it was that much last year.
Or was it last year?
The first year I thought it was like 9 or 10.
Maybe, and then last year was
27 because we asked for that full.
Right. I know one of the years it was really high. So this is a lot lower than,
It has been?
yes. Does that help?
Yes, thank you. My assumption would be it would probably end up going up after some time once River walks in, because she'll assess that, I'm assuming, at some point.
I would assume somewhat, but I'm not sure.
Is that what's on this bill? For 26,000, the centralized county assessor?
I believe so, yeah.
So that would have been
Last year.
Okay. Yeah, because this is just an intent.
Yep.
So this is what they're estimating that they're going to bill us next year. It depends on how much work they have to get done. So we're not receiving this bill this year. This will come next year after taxes.
So it can be put into the budget,
Yes,
and if it's over that amount, they would let us know.
they bill us for it.
They don't tell us if they're over that amount that they have for an intent? No?
I don't recall ever seeing anything over
The only thing I've ever seen is this
and then bill.
and then the bill.
And will we get the total bill before budget season starts?
This is what we go off for next year.
That's what you go off of? Okay.
So like we paid the 26 today, that would be the 14 probably next year. Yep.
But I want to say we budgeted, because 27 sticks in my mind. I want to say we budgeted for 27. So if the bill is actually 26, they actually shot for over a little bit, so it gave a little wiggle room.
That might be a question you could maybe ask you if they're figuring high, so we know what we're dealing with.
We don't have to sign until September 5, so if you'd like to hold off and get the answer, we sure can, or you can vote on it tonight.
You could maybe look at the last 2 years and see what they were, since this is the third year. If they came in right about by that mark, then you know that they're pretty consistent.
Right. I just don't want to budget for something low and then it's high, because that's more than just $1,000, $2,000.
So do you want to wait on it and see where we're at? or do you want to move and approve it tonight and then?
We can wait and she can ask them 2 questions, or you can look back
Okay.
and see what it was, then you
So we'll
can clarify
postpone
it. That would remove any doubt.
Yep.
Yeah, 'cause says this price is subject to change if signed after September 5th.
So we'll table that till the next meeting. We need a motion to approve moving Sarah onto as the signer at the banks and removing Julie.
Make a
So-
motion.
Whoops,
Second.
sorry.
Moved by Paul, seconded by Nicole. Is there any other discussion? Dave?
Yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
And a yes for me. Motion carries. Next, we have a facade grant for Caledonia Properties.
And that was the window, right?
Correct.
That meets all of the requirements for beautification? That meets all the requirements?
Yep.
And there is funding in that beautification for that? I know in the past they budgeted some money for it.
We
I
had
forgot budgeted for sure.
We have budgeted some for it before. It always just came out of the sales tax dollars.
There's a line item for it in sales tax,
Yeah.
Is there a cap that each individual applying?
I think it is 5,000, isn't it?
Is it 5,000?
or 5,000 cap.
Which, the only question is, I know they have got one before, so are we putting a cap totally, or are we just gonna do it every year?
I don't think so.
We never determined that,
Oh.
so.
Well, I would have to.
And
Yeah.
I told her, I don't know if that's best
No.
way to apply and you guys would make that decision.
I think that's something we gotta talk about, whether we do it tonight or the next meeting. I think we gotta talk about how we're gonna handle that.
Okay, so you'd like to postpone that?
I would.
Yeah,
It's up to you
let's
guys.
talk about it.
Okay, we'll postpone it till next meeting. Street closure of 2.5 Street Northwest for hot dog days.
I'll make the motion.
Do we know the days?
It's the
June 15th.
first, I want to say it's the first day of Hillsboro Days. They always have their
Yeah.
hot dogs.
Okay,
Thursday, June 15th.
June 15th. Okay, Dave makes the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Nicole. Any discussion?
Could
Paul?
they change it to hamburgers?
He might throw it on just for
Paul?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
Any yes for me. We have 2 site authorizations for A&R Bar and Goose River Brewing for gaming sites through HEDC.
Well, when I had reviewed them, it didn't seem like there was anything missing from the criteria, was there? That's just an annual renewal.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve the gaming site authorizations.
Moved by Nicole. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Dave. Is there any other discussion? Dave?
Yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
And a yes for me. Motion carries. We have a public library budget proposal for a total of $4,038.86 for this year. And that comes out of the general fund generally.
Pretty standard. I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved by Dave, seconded by Paul. Is there any other discussion? Nicole?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
And a yes for me. Motion carries. Demo grant on 202 2nd Street Southeast. I believe this is the one that had the fire.
Good to see you moving on it.
What are they requesting?
Normally we give 1,000 unless we have made it to the end of the year and there was extra money left on that line item, then sometimes we've given 2. But generally it's 1,000.
Looks like everybody signed off on it.
Yeah.
I'll make the motion.
Dave makes the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved by Dave, seconded by Nicole. Is there any other discussion?
What's the amount gonna be?
1,000, isn't it?
$1,000.
It's 1,000, right?
$1,000?
$4,000. Any other discussion? Dave,
Yes.
Nicole,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
and a yes for me. Next item business is resignation of Mike Kress as city commissioner in the planning and zoning. We'd have to accept that resignation, and that would start the clock for 15 days that we would leave it open. And after that time, if we don't have a petition that would ask for a special election, then the commission can appoint if that's the wishes of the commission.
I'll make the motion to accept this resolution from both the city and planning and zoning.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved by Paul, seconded by Nicole to accept the resignations. Is there any discussion? Discussions? Dave?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
And a yes for me. Motion carries. We have Mike Lassard and Mike Wilson's resignation from planning and zoning. Mike's Lassard's can be appointed. Mike Wilson's, we can make a recommendation that would have to be approved by the county commission. It's all right. Mike Lassard's is appointed by the city commission. Mike Wilson's is an extraterritorial, which we appointed by, recommended by the city, and then appointed by county commissioners. Do I have a correct? Because one person from our planning and zoning is part of the extraterritorial zone. Do I have a motion to approve the resignations or accept the resignations?
So moved.
Moved by Paul, second.
I'll second.
Seconded by Nicole. Is there any further discussion? Paul,
Yes.
Nicole,
Thank you for all of your service, all the mics, and yes.
Dave,
Yes.
and a yes for me. Motion carries. Next item of business is the Hillsboro telephone grant application for the rec district. They're applying for 2 pitching mounds to be added in to help for a tournament this summer. They have 1 mound, looking at another 2 so that we can use all 3 fields for the Little League programs. And this is just Halstead Telephone requests that it be approved or submitted by the government entity.
I'll make the motion.
Dave makes the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Paul. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, proceed to vote. Paul,
Yes.
Nicole,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
and yes for me. Motion carries. Transfer of liquor license applications for the A&R Bar. And that is for Hillsboro Days.
I'll make a motion to approve the transfer.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved by Paul, seconded by Nicole. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, proceed to vote. Dave,
Yes.
Nicole,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
and a yes for me. Motion carries. Do we have any other new business that was not on the agenda? Okay. Do I have any citizens that would like to address the commission at this time? Yes. If you want to come up to the mic and
I'll stand here.
please, it's not
Yeah, but
for us, it's
people
for
on
everybody
TV.
else. If you could just come up to the mic right up here.
Okay. I'm Susie Anderson, for those of you that don't know me.
If you want to push the button, I think it's not on. Thank you.
Who does the city cemetery portfolio?
That was Mike, wasn't it?
It was
Mike.
Mike.
Somebody should look, and I don't know who's in charge of the graves that are rolled and filling in so the water doesn't consume the graves and all that.
I don't know how many we plan to do. Paul, do you remember how many we did when you had the?
Yeah, they just kind of, they have, we've got budgeted so much money, and they just do, they come and they pick the worst ones that they have to do, and they keep doing a few every year. So in order to do additional, we'd have to, allow more funds for that. So,
And I know,
It's not my family's graves, thank heavens, but right when you go in that first road, on the west side of the road, there are graves that are covered with water, or at least were. And that should not be.
where is it? When you go in which driveway? So you go across the railroad tracks,
The first driveway in,
and you're going to the south.
yes,
Okay. And there's some with the water in them there?
yes, on the west side of the road.
Hmm.
And it was a lot of water, and I thought, oh.
I guess
didn't know
I-
if you guys knew about it, but you should take a
Hmm.
look.
I think Paul and I can look at it and we'll see.
Yeah, I don't.
And I think the Vets Club takes care of the flag out there. Or does the city?
I am not sure on that one.
Okay.
We'll find out.
That was
Obviously,
one-
there must be, it must need a new flag.
Okay, because the flag out there last week was terrible. It was like in shreds.
Okay. I'll check into that for you.
Okay, great. And now, the other thing, and maybe Nicole, when she first talked about water and sewer, covered this. What is on the park, what I call the park road, on the east side of the road? What's all the digging?
I don't know that. Do you know that, Jim?
That would be,
That's a new storm sewer that they're installing
oh, okay.
out to the lagoons.
Okay, so it's just Hillsboro's water.
Correct,
Okay.
yes.
Well, this has been a very good meeting,
Okay.
and I really appreciate being able to hear you.
Let's wait the 15 days and I'll take what there is and we'll kind of split up if anybody has anything. Until that time, if it comes up, we'll just kind of all work on it together. Just to see what direction we're going in 15 days. Which the the end of the month, so we'll have a decision at the next meeting.
Was that 15 business days or 15 days?
15 days is what the statute says, which will fit nicely with the next city commission meeting timing.
Mhm.
Okay. Is there anybody else that would like to talk to the Chuck?
Mhm.
Yes, I'm Chuck. Susie's absolutely right. I was out in the cemetery today with a party that was all about the business. And it was amazing. There's a lake of water laying. The graves I saw. I've never seen it before.
I don't remember it last year.
There's been so much snow that it hasn't, whatever, but that's, nobody can be pointing fingers at that. But, one thing I will mention, I was at a meeting in Mayville last week. They're redoing their, I don't know what they're redoing, but they're redoing the curbs and gutters. They're mud jacking the curbs between driveways, not the driveways. The driveways are actually replacing the curbs and the corners. It might be worth, and don't get me wrong, I know we're not doing anything major, but apparently somebody over there is on the ball that understands how to fix a road. They looks at me at this point. We're starting at the right point is all I'm getting at, guys. Because eventually, Jim will verify this, we gotta start doing something, sometime. But I was amazed, 2 different days I had to be over there. It's a mess, but it's making sense what they're doing. Not that we can't do the very same thing. One other thing, that's it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Chuck?
Mhm.
I'm wondering how the building permits are being processed now and how they're going to be done in a timely manner. Anybody got any answers?
So the first ones that came in over the weekend, I met with Bruce Bowersox, who's also on there, to make sure none of those, he said in the past, would have had any difference. So those were approved, and same thing. If there's any that come up with questions, it'll always be referred back to the planning and zoning members that are there. The whole point of the planning and zoning was that second step, because I know there was questions on whether or not if it came to the city commission, which could be the process, but there's supposed to be 2 steps to it. So one that somebody looks at it and then somebody else, the planning and zoning, signs off, or the commissioners, city commission signs off. I can't tell you exactly how it's going to work, but I'm going to try to make sure that it's done as quickly as possibly as we can. If it's referred on to Mike Blevins that would normally, then that process will go fairly smoothly. If it's here, we'll have to work with Bruce and
Brent is on
Brent.
there yet?
Brent and Leaf to see what their process is going to be.
So do you know who you want Leslie and Sarah to reach out to first? Leave?
Bruce, you always have to call him.
Okay.
Bruce seems to be the senior on there. You can send him to me and then I'll forward him on to Bruce because he's hard to get a hold of at times.
Okay, so send all of them to you.
Yep, and then I'll check with Bruce.
Okay.
Shouldn't they just all be sent to all of them members? Why wouldn't you just send them all?
I could, yeah.
No, just send them to all 4 of those members.
Sarah, did you usually send them to all 4?
Like 5. Mike usually came in and looked at them and let them and check out properties and then, they were into,
No, there's Leaf Simpson and Brent Mickelson are the 3 that are, so there's still 3 on there.
Mike was really good at coming and processing fast.
So just email out to the 4 of us. Because according to our ordinances, it's the president of the commission that was on that board but it was always referred to Mike, so I'll take over in the midterm on there as the liaison.
You and all PNV members going forward.
Correct. Does that sound okay to everybody?
It's okay with me.
And us, the commissioners get the same emails.
Sure.
And I'm done in June 24th.
Okay, and then once he's done, and then we need 2 votes.
There'll be another election then.
Yeah.
That's when, he's
There'll be
done in the next
election in June.
election.
Yeah.
He's done after there's a new election.
Yeah.
Of 24.
24.
there's
24, yes.
Right, you're done this June, right?
No,
No,
June the
next June.
24th.
Next June.
Yeah.
Next year. Okay.
That was a deceptive answer, Dave.
She'd made a comment on how far they are.
On the
On the
citywide storm water master plan?
Yes.
Yep. It is, I wrote it down. Task 1 for general coordination is 25% complete, and the data and site review is 50% complete. And so that's all they're at right now is task 1 and 2. And as these roll through, I'll be able to tell you what percentages they're at, probably each month.
When was their projected completion on that, did they say?
I thought in the original it was by November of this year, but.
for sure. I thought he said it was only gonna be a couple months, but
Yeah.
because he wanted to get it through this summer.
Right. So I know it's supposed to be completed somewhere in the fall. Yes, yep.
And they have been getting a little rain to help assess things. I know that was the problem the one year. And then
Yeah.
it was so dry they didn't really know where the.
You're concerned on the streets and everything, and I think you're in agreement that we gotta kind of figure out our drainage before we do anything with the streets, because if we don't do anything with the drainage, when we lay blacktop down, we're just gonna have issues. And Jim and his crew, and, you know, he had a crew come in here last year, and they did a lot of patching, and we're trying to keep up with that, and I think our plans are to do quite a bit of that again this summer, if the money allows us to do it. But,
Yeah, I'd say that they're very friendly house here with their didn't get redone the last time. They, I think they put some chips is what it is.
yeah,
So,
and that's just a patch. That's basically just a patch.
yeah. And then,
Just to interrupt you, is that mic on? Somebody just texted me and said they're not hearing anybody from the podium.
I don't know.
Is it blue?
It shows on, numbers on there.
Maybe you're probably just too far away.
Okay.
They can't hear people at the podium, they said.
I'm
You're too tall. You
leaning down
you can
and-
lift it
is
up.
that better?
Lift it up and hold it turn.
Yeah, and I was just curious on the beautification committee. I looked it up, and there's line items A through G on there, and from what appearance I get is we're focusing more on people's private property than property that the city owns, you know, stuff that would be easy to knock out and start making progress towards beautifying the city and having pride in it versus going after trying all these, you know, legal actions, which I get to a point we need to. There's houses that definitely need that attention, but it seems to me that the focus should be more on city's public property than, say, the private citizens' property. Not that need to eliminate it altogether, but I know we talked about doing something with the railroad park here, and I haven't heard anything about the mural lately, but I really think we need to start focusing on the other six line items in that beautification committee focus, you know, where it speaks about public parks and public right-of-ways and stuff like that, where, you know, the city doesn't have to go through legal process to make those things happen.
Can you give us a couple of examples of the city side, other than obviously the one about Railroad Park? But what are the areas?
Sure, I don't know if the downtown street lights, you know, they're just kind of the standard street light fixture, you know. I don't know if that's something that could be addressed. And I love what you and Sheila have been doing with the flags on certain days, you know, it's items like that, you know. I don't have anything specifically in mind right now, but, you know, and I guess the other thing would be, I believe the city controls all the downtown sidewalks. Maybe you know more of that, Paul, since you're right downtown here. A lot of the sidewalks are in really poor condition.
Yes, they are.
So, I mean, that's the stuff I think would be a good focus for that committee versus trying to make sure that everybody cleans up their front yard.
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of
I
both.
agree that there needs to be some on that, but it seems like a lot of the focus lately has been on that.
And Eva, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we actually have an opening, don't we, on beautification? Or somebody requested that, or,
No, Leaf is on there. That was filled.
okay. Well, yeah, well, that would be from the HBA side.
HBA needs to make their determination.
HBA, yep.
You know, and there is some things that beautification has done that maybe it's not always as seen as much. Last year they went and looked at some of the boulevard trees that was from the recommendation of the Forest Service and took those out. We talk about replacing.
Did they replace any trees, or did they just
That's
cut
the
down
next
bad
step
ones?
of looking at replacing those.
Okay.
It's
Is that
not
something the city or the county soil conservation, or how does that work?
the last grant. It was the Forest Service grant, so it's applying for another grant if we're going to do that. We're finding a process to do that. The mural project is in progress. It's we had to scale it back based on the price limits, and Railroad Park is being looked at. So I encourage you to come to a beautification commission meeting and talk to the groups that that's there, because they're always more than willing to listen and hear ideas and changes, and because they're pretty open about it. And you know, just because action is only seems like it's going on one or two things doesn't mean that the talk or trying to find ways to do things isn't there. Sometimes a lot of it is finding the funding you
Yep.
know,
And I'll admit, I've only listened in on a couple of the meetings, so, and then that seemed like what the focus of it was. I don't know if it'd be better to give more of a rundown in city commission meeting, what other items are, other than just the tickets that you have on private properties. Just a suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
No, you want to get one.
To go off of that, I know, right? My bad. To go off of that a little bit, I know there's a VOAG teacher that's in here.
Mhm.
So have we ever thought of doing something like through the school, or having the kids put up with a fence, or do some type of thing over here to make it just the budget a little bit smaller for that, or?
it gets complicated with the railroad. That's all I can say. There's certain requirements of the railroad company, so we have to make
Okay.
sure that we're very careful on that.
But just
I-
making sure like you use that as a resource for other projects and other things that go on around the city.
We have tried,
Sounds-
yep, as much as I can. so.
Okay. Next question. How much in legal fees has the beautification committee used?
I can't answer that question at this time. I can look and see, but I can't.
Where is it in the budget? Or where would that be located?
And technically, to technically answer that question, the Beautification Commission has not used any legal fees. It's been the City Commission that signs off on going to court.
Okay, so then that line item would be under the city commission.
Correct.
Okay, so you guys should be able to look that up on your budget.
How did they even bill us? How was that billed, actually?
We get bills from onset right.
But
The county doesn't bill us, JR bills us, in his time.
and when it's billed to a specific property, if we're having issues with it, that goes towards that property, and we'd go back to assess them for that.
Right, so you'd have like the line item though, that it's went like through the beautification and not through what you'd need to be using as like.
You'll
your
probably have to
commission.
split it out to Joseph, or Onset Twitchell, right? They'd have to split out what was used for what?
I just don't remember what the number is, but I think JR looked at it at one time.
I'd have to look at I'd have to go in our system and look at, I don't know the exact line items. I do know we have a beautification line item, but I don't know the exact. There's a lot of line items, so I don't know them all off the top of
We
my
can't tell you
Yeah,
tonight,
that's
but we can
fine,
get it
but you
to
can get the information,
So
yeah.
there must be a line item for attorney fees.
Correct.
She's asking.
Right, but I want it to be like breakdown. I don't want to see all attorney fees if
Right.
that's multiple different things. I don't, yeah,
Sarah would be the expert at that one.
yes.
She puts all in all the bills. Sarah, do you have an answer? Well, when we get bills from onset, it's not broken down. It's like the state, I conference with, but it's not written out the amount. So it's just like a lump sum, so all the professional fees right there. So it really doesn't break down at all. Not onset.
But that's the only, what other attorneys do we go through for this?
But what you're saying is it's not itemized, more or less.
No, not what specific topic they've talked about usually. Not amount-wise, no, not amount-wise.
They should have it itemized, maybe a little bit better.
When we send bills, we tell you exactly what we've worked on, but there's no department type or committee type breakdown. So our bill isn't going to say JR worked with Levi and Company for X amount of hours and charged X dollars on the cleanup work for.
Right, but you should be saying what it's used for by, like, what beautification, city commission, what other, you know, like, it should be a entity that you're working for. You would put it under that? Yeah, how do you,
What was
so how, because So I was saying, if you get them from different entities, how is Onstead Twitchell then gonna audit where it came from for what committee? Does that make sense?
Our bill goes to the city of Hillsboro for our work. It doesn't go to the beautification.
It doesn't go,
committee
it's not, we have to
or-
break it out internally.
Okay,
And we
but you
don't always
don't
break it out. We don't always break it out, and I did
You-
make sure that we break out one today, so. uh,
There's just one lump sum
Right.
that comes, and then we have to try to decipher, you know, a percentage maybe per se to where it goes, because it comes in one lump sum and we get, it's literally a list.
Right.
of Talk to Levi this day, email communication, Ashley this day, and sometimes it says for what, and other times it just says email communication, it doesn't list everything.
Right.
So we don't really have a way on our end to break it out
Right.
further than that, if that makes
Yes.
sense.
So the invoicing is not done efficiently of
But I will look.
where you get,
We'll look at it.
that
and see if we
information
can
from.
Tell you what.
okay. Next question. How is the process if you would like to recall the mayor vote?
If you would like to do that, you would have to petition and have X amount of signatures.
How many
It's in the
signatures?
century
It's in the
code. That's
century-
a specific statutory process.
I know. So what is it? What's the process? Do you know it?
I don't know it specifically, I just know that you have to petition and file for an election.
Okay.
In all my years, it's never been done, so I couldn't even go from recollection of,
Okay.
of how it's done. I can't help you on that
And I
one.
can find it online?
Vote.nd.gov,
Okay.
and all the information is there. I have been asked that question.
Got it. And they've got the information from, like, people have got the actual information. Okay.
For them, I printed it out. What they do with it is, I guess I didn't figure out how many signatures people need, but I know it's a percentage. But I can reach out to League of Cities if that is what somebody so chooses. But I know where to access the information. So if you or anybody, you know of anybody that wants to do so, they are welcome to contact my office and we can get it for them, or you can go on, it's vote.nd.gov.
Got it.
It's under elections, and you kind of have to search.
I can use the internet. Yes. Yep. I got you. I got it. I can do that. Why did all the mics resign? Did they have a letter? How was that done?
Did they give a letter? Did they give you a letter?
No, he just handed in, I had my door shut, so I didn't.
Ashley, okay, I'm going to stop you because you're not on the commission. I'm just addressing the commission. So I know that you know, yep, but I would like the commission to answer the question because they voted and you didn't to say yes. So,
I do not know.
The only thing I can tell you is what was in the paper, the reason why.
I believe there was a letter sent out regarding some properties that, and I'm not really sure that's, why they resigned, but I know the letters were sent out. I can't speak for them.
Right.
As
I just didn't know if they
commissioners.
sent a letter to you guys as well
No,
or
I didn't
anything.
get the letter
Okay,
myself.
got it.
No, none of them talked to me about it all beforehand.
Right. But the city of Hillsboro, I just want to say thank you to them because a lot of years.
Two things. One thing that I mentioned is last week, Thursday, we had the special assessment committee met and basically just started the process for, they had a lot of questions and different things for that special assessment out at Riverwalk. The next date has not been set, but it's hopefully will be before the middle of June. We're just waiting to hear back from John Lowry what day would work for him. Secondly, I'm sorry that a letter, if that is the case, made that big of a deal to have 3 commissioners, or a commissioner and 2 planning and zoning people resign over it. It had nothing to do with any particular property, but it was 3 questions. It was no more than that. It was 1, asking if 2 properties were in violation, 2, if they are in violation, are we going to do anything, and 3, if we're going to change the ordinances based on those. And the reason for that is I had talked to Mike Kress about these before in the past, and it's more than just those properties. There's properties all over town that there has been issues with. And the question is, what is the rule? If we don't have a rule we can follow, how are we supposed to know? And it's not just about me, it's about the public. Is it 5 feet? Is it 10 feet? Some get to do it one way, some get to do it a different way. All I wanted was a specific answer to the question. It did not, hold on, Dave.
Okay.
It did not come to the commission. And Dave, before you say anything, do you want me to bring up an issue that you had and you asked me to look into?
No, I don't want you to bring any issue up. But
Okay, because what I'm saying is, some people want to know, well, who was it? Who has the problems? Who has the issues? But my point is, you had a concern. You came to me. I didn't use your name or do anything about it. But I talked to the person that you had an issue with, and I tried to find an answer. And that's what it was. I tried to find an answer.
And you did, and I appreciate it.
And that's the same.
But I'm not going to name, all I want to say, Levi, is this is just my thought that could have solved a lot of issues on, the letter went out. Couldn't you maybe just went up to the planning and zoning on Monday night and just said, hey guys, let's sit down and let's just talk about this. That's all that's all I have to say. That's all I have to say about it. I mean, it's a done deal, but I thought that would have just been a lot easier than sending the letter out, but you sent it out, so.
I could have went up to him. Sometimes I don't always articulate across. I thought a letter would be very concrete and it would have an answer, and then it's asking for these 3 things. Also, I didn't want the impression that I'm trying to control that group in any way, because all I wanted was an answer to 3 questions. That's what I was looking for. 3 questions to get answered, so not to go back and fix anything in the past, not to change anything, just to find out what the answer is to that. And again, I'm sorry, and I appreciate the time that Mike Kress, Mike Lassard, and Mike Olson put into the commissions, into planning and zoning. And that's all I have. Chuck, I think.
Are there limits on anybody, our board, some of those people, like Ed Olson was on for, I think, 30-some years.
I don't believe within the city that we have any term limits.
Term limits just if you want to serve.
So, I think everybody else was able to go in. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Motion's adjourned. Meeting's adjourned.